Hey man, are you subscribed? Be a lot cooler if you were.
This intro is brought to you at the expense of Raising Cane's Chicken Fingers. Quality chicken finger meals made with 100% recycled material. Welcome to Talking with TalksALot. Today's extra special guest is the Wizard of the Weave, the Master of Debating, and the Man of Many Rants, Culture Casino.
Hello and welcome to Talking with TalksALot, the all-new Talking with TalksALot. Joining us today, of course, is our wonderful guest, Culture Casino. How are you today, sir?
Well, I'm fantastic. I don't know where you got some of those images. I'm going to have to go talk to the boss, find out where they came from. So that's
Gilded.
Cool. Yeah. Oh, boy. All right. Well, they got spread far and wide anyway. But no, it's great. I'm glad to be here. I'm pretty excited. We've got... I have no expectations. What are we doing today?
We'll get to that. But first, let's say hi to the chat. Greetings and salutations to Vince Womack.
Indeed.
Always awesome to see you here. You're always first, so you get a gold star. Hello and welcome, Omega Star Productions. Good to see you, Sean. Hello, Trina, Lasso of Truth. Awesome to see you as well. Casey Charlie Chats. He says, "Hail, sir, Mr. Casino and chat. Hope you all are well." Hope all are well. We're hanging in there, bro. As does happen with the first week of school starting, I caught myself a cold, so we're working through that.
Yeah.
And Blair to Blair, hail, sir. Glad to see you. Glad you could join us. And of course, our always wonderful Mike Evans from XRL7. This man is a creative genius. If you're not subscribed, go do it.
And I got to hang out with him for the first time just a few days ago.
Hell yeah. He's a good guy. He's coming back to Talking with TalksALot on September 12th.
Sweet.
So I'm going to make sure I have some fun stuff lined up for that. And Theme Park Casual just popped in. Hey. Glad you could make it. So as you all know, as you all should know, I'm doing something a little different. If you caught last week's with Nick, I'm running some news stories that are a little strange. But today I figured we would start out talking shit. So, all right, don't look now, but the San Francisco's poop problem seems to be getting better. So, Culture, when you hear better, what in your mind is better for how much human feces is in the streets?
How about no poop?
Oh wow, yeah,
No.
that was my thought too. I do hear that San Francisco's kind of a shitty place.
Yeah, it can be. This is one of the places in the country where you tend to look down when you walk.
Yeah, it's usually for your own benefit as well. Keep an eye on the street so you don't step in any shit, and keep an eye forward so you don't get mugged by some random transgender. Who knows?
Yeah, well, and have an alarm that's set up, a proximity alarm on your back so you don't get shanked.
That's true. That's true. But let's take a look at what they say improvement looks like. I have a few metrics here. Human feces incidents by year in San Francisco. So as you can see, in 2011, things weren't too shitty, with only 5,000 reports of human feces in the streets.
That still seems like a really high number.
It does. It does.
I live adjacent to a city, and I you know what I don't consider? Shit in the streets.
Right. Just a little bit. So hail Katina Martin. Thank you for joining us. It's awesome. Vince says it's now diarrhea, so it runs into the gutter. Yeah, you wish, buddy. You wish. But as you can see, by 2018, they were up to 28,084 reports of human shit in the street. Okay, and now keep in mind, this is not counting all of the shit that's in the street, because this is just what people reported. This
is really shitty.
It is. This is some serious shit.
If you look at it, it got shittier like exponentially almost. It's like
like doo doo doo, and then it was like pow pow. Oh, look at that! Now we in the 20s. Then like those are rookie numbers. Pump that shit up.
Literally.
But now, if we look at this one between 2016 and 2018. There was 13,000 in the beginning of 2016. I'm assuming that's 2015.
Yeah.
But then we see here in 2019 where it was at 30,894.
That's shitty.
That is hella shitty. Like 30,000 pieces of shit. Hail, mass grave. Glad to see you. And then, of course, we saw a slight decline in 2020, mostly because people were probably locked inside. So only half of the people could actually go outside and poop, pulling double duty.
Yeah. Speaking of, well, they had to do their duty inside.
This is true. This is true. But so some people would consider this mark right here to be an improvement. Hey, almost 2,000 decrease. Little over 2,000 in decrease. That's great. Now, if we take a look at the year to year from 2020 to 2021, this is where they're saying we see improvement. From 2019, from January to July, it was 14,337 pieces of shit reported in the streets. And keep in mind, this is actual shit, not people. So went up to 16,000 in 2020, and then down to 13,856. I'm not a big statistics guy, but I feel like less than 3,000 is not statistically significant for improvement. What do you think?
No, I think you definitely nailed it. Yeah, I mean, just because you're slightly less shitty doesn't mean you're overall less shitty. I mean, you're still really shitty.
It's still a lot of shit to put up with. It's kind of ridiculous. Hail, Heron of Alexandria. Always wonderful to see you. It's a little early in the morning for me to have a milkshake, but I'll probably have one on Yelling at Parked Cars tonight when you catch us. So make sure you do that.
What happened with the milkshake? What now?
Oh, every time I'm on Yelling at Parked Cars and I have a milkshake, me and her discuss what flavor it is and have a good time. So,
oh, well, I don't know that talking about that while we look at how shitty San Francisco.
Hey, man. Chocolate. So I think we're both in agreement that this isn't really improvement, right?
No. Zero.
Now, here's my question. Do you think that this is actual improvement, or do you just think that this is people not giving a shit to report shit anymore?
I think there are fewer shitty reports. Like people just got tired of making shitty reports all the time. To be honest with you. Because, I mean, honestly, if you looked at that interactive map ever, like they're literally the only place that wasn't shitty was the water.
Right.
At least in the Bay Area.
Right. But the Bay Area does have, like, would you swim in the Bay?
No,
I wouldn't either.
Well, unless you were trying to get away from the prison, maybe.
I don't know. Right. Yeah, pull little Sean Connery, the only man to escape. Yes. Anyway, we got a Boosh McFadden, a wild Boosh McFadden appears. Hail, sir. So we're all familiar with the global cabal of big tech, big pharma, big tobacco, big oil, all these other things. Sure. But it's just come to my attention that there's been a new addition to the global cabal, Big Napkin. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, beware.
You know, wow, Big Napkin. That's big news.
It is. Keep your eyes on your dinner table, ladies and gentlemen. They're coming for you. Anyway, so here's this from the Telegraph. It says golf balls are the product of colonial exploitation. Golf balls were the product of colonial exploitation, according to the University of St. Andrews, with the game imposed around the world by the British Empire. So when you hear golf balls are the product of colonial exploitation, what does that translate to in your brain? Because to me, that just says golf balls are racist.
I mean, well, that would seem like the obvious answer. To me, I feel like, balls and holes are a completely different subject. I'm probably not something we should talk about here.
Well, I do agree. I mean, they are two completely different things. But so this study came out of St. Andrews, University of St. Andrews, obviously. And it's actually a report on the historical background of golf balls. But the shock factor, in my opinion, of
the headline
makes it seem like golf balls are racist, right?
Yeah.
Thank God for that other half of Tiger Woods, I guess. But here they're saying that it's because the Gutta rubber was just exploited the hell out of by by English colonizers, let's call them. That's a popular word these days. Do you think that they released this study simply for the social shock factor?
Of course. Yeah. Look, they want to say, and again, I mean, this is not hard to read between the lines. See, these white people exploited these non-white people and caused ecological damage where they live because they harvested rubber from this particular area, right? And that was they profited off the backs of these non-white people. So bad.
Right, and then they forced the game of golf upon all of their settlements, right?
Yeah.
I mean, personally, I'm not into golf, but how much of an impact could this have really had? Forcing golf on people.
I don't really think it was substantial, and of course, now the way golf balls are constructed, they're nothing like what they were even in this particular period of time.
Right. Nice composite rubbers and stuff.
Yeah. And much like baseballs are coiled differently than honestly, this is just shock for shock value's sake.
Right.
And another opportunity to call everybody evil, and consider this. I mean, every single nation on the globe, with the exception of one or two, are the results of other nations conquering them.
Right. I'm just curious here. How much advancement do you think we'd see in the colonized world had it not been colonized?
None. The opportunities and the availability or the abundance of natural resources have always been the contributing factor to advancement. Always.
Mm-hmm.
And so the English at the time believed that they could benefit from trade routes, and of course the production of and exchange of natural resources across the globe.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the practices of the individual colonial leadership were, not the best because, if you're given that much power, some people can't handle it and of course abuse it. But ultimately it led to massive advancements across the globe and eventually the Industrial Revolution, which would not have occurred had there not been a British Empire.
Yep. And we would not be sitting here talking to you from hundreds or possibly thousands of miles away.
That's true.
I mean, and I haven't done a lot of research on European colonization, but I feel like it's pretty normal if you're establishing even just a trade route to have a couple people stay there.
Yeah.
And sure, the British Empire had a habit of thinking they were the greatest thing in the world.
Right.
It took 13 little colonies to whoop their ass to get them to see straight a little bit. But
even that's like a little of a simplification because we had contributory participation from other entities that were frustrated with British, rule
France
in many
and
different
stuff.
locations. Yeah. Spain. There were a lot of people that weren't jamming with that. So.
Well, and I mean, this is, of course, ancient history.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, as it says here, the Gutta ball was said to be invented in 1843. That's before we even had our Civil War, or in the middle of our Civil War. My brain's broke on the Civil War now. Great.
Yeah. Interestingly enough, and we're looking into this, Robert Adams Patterson invented this ball and was a student at St. Andrews, the place where, all evil stems from, which is where the study comes from, which is craptasticness.
Right. I feel like there's too much attempt at shock in news today.
Oh.
Hail Jacob Ironside. Make sure you use 2 of those napkins. Yes. It helps the downfall of Big Napkin much faster. Hail, JT Gunn.
JT.
It's awesome to see you, sir. Katina Martin says, my dad loves golf, but I just don't get it. The only time I enjoyed golf is when I saw a bear run onto the course and start chasing people. But
I love golf. I love golf, and my best wildlife experience while golfing was well, of course, in Florida it's regularly gators, so that's not it. But it's the damn wild turkeys that won't get out of the way when you got to hit your ball.
So, yeah. I've heard somewhere that turkeys often mistake golf balls for their eggs. I know they're dumb enough to drown themselves, domesticated turkeys anyway, when it rains, but is it true that they do that? Have you ever
look, it took me the better part of 10 minutes to get a turkey away from my golf ball so I could strike it.
All right.
Yeah.
Sounds like a good swing would have got you a turkey dinner. Hail the nerdporeal life form. Who's excited for Rings of Power? Nobody.
Wow. No.
Not in the slightest. I haven't been excited about anything Lord of the Rings related since I heard Amazon got the rights to make shit. Honestly.
You know, and here's the thing. 230 million fans globally, and you make this shit bucket that nobody wants.
Right. You kept the part nobody wants.
Yeah. Actually, you went around San Francisco with a bucket and just filled it up.
Yeah.
Lord of the Rings. Sorry.
It filled up quick with 13,000 shits available. Hail brightest day.
What's up,
Glad
Zach?
to see you, sir. So the next one that we have is a nice fun one for everybody. Man unpacks penis and hits woman with dead seagull. From the Switzerland Times.
That's a huge cock.
That is, yep, indeed. Where do you think this took place?
Spain.
Okay, close. Close. Hey, chat, where do you think the man unpacked his penis and whooped a woman with a dead seagull? I'll give you a second. So I heard a lot of people have been watching House of Dragons or whatever lately. Have you seen any of that?
Yes.
Is it any good? I haven't watched any Game of Thrones.
Okay,
but
so I'm recording my review later today, along with finally the boss are getting around to doing our She-Hulk review, which will be out tomorrow. But much like I found the first episode, my first episode review was meh, because it's basically setting up everything so that you have a starting point.
Okay.
The second episode was much more engaging.
Okay. Well, progress is a new thing for these people, so that's awesome.
Interestingly enough, it still has all of the things that I didn't want, like some wokey McWoke stuff. But, it's really not as high level intersectionality as you would find in a lot of shows that have it inserted within it. But what I did find is that it still all leads to the end, which is the last episodes of Game of Thrones, the show, which is, the thing that comes from this show. And that was disappointing. So ultimately, it all leads to disappointment in the end.
Indeed. That's kind of why I've never watched Black Widow.
Yeah, and it looks like people are thinking it's Florida.
Yep, we've got the Basco scenario. Hail, sir. He says it's Portugal. We've got Blair to Blair saying Florida. Lasso of Truth says Massachusetts. Brightest Day says Florida. Southern Belle says Switzerland. Heron of Alexandria says Florida. Vince says L.A. That wouldn't surprise me, but
or that could be Louisiana. That could be Louisiana
or Louisiana. Yeah. This is true. When I think of a man unpacking his penis and beating someone with a dead bird, I think of Los Angeles, though.
Okay,
but you're all incredibly wrong. This actually happened in Germany.
Oh,
so a man hit a woman with a dead seagull. Kicks smacks with a dead seagull and a bare penis. On Tuesday morning, a dispute broke out in this random place in Germany, in Hamburg, which escalated. It all started out harmless. She's walking her dog. Suddenly, a man insults her, and her two companions kicks the dog. That makes him a douchebag. The woman pulled out her cell phone to call the police. He pulls down his pants, unpacks his penis, exposes himself, and then slaps her with a dead seagull. Now, this is totally a Florida man story happening in Germany. Hamburg, ladies and gentlemen.
Wow.
Hamburg. A 41-year-old man at that. I don't know about you guys, but I don't think he grew up right. I don't think he was raised correctly. Woke ain't so dope.
There you
go. That's funny. Incredibly wrong. Indeed, Boosh. Sean Estep. Hail, sir. That's not my pecker. This is my pecker. Yes, indeed. So the pecker obviously wasn't big enough to whack her with, so he whacked her with a bird.
Well, to be fair, I mean, you'd have to have a pretty long schlong to, like, you know, reach
this
out.
Is true.
Way.
Hail Toxic Man Flu. He says, notice it says a bear penis, so it's not necessarily his.
Also true.
That's even scarier. Okay, so now in my brain, he's unpacking like a Drew-sized dong out of like a rifle case to wet, just be like, look at more dick. And then,
in Cyberpunk 2077, they actually have a giant phallus that you can beat people with.
I know. Like the moment I heard that announced, I thought of Saints Row.
Yeah, because you could actually kill people with a giant penis. Well, giant, like Saints Row, not the rebooted Saints.
Oh yeah. Row. No, I'm talking actual Saints Row, not whatever abomination they just decided to release with hipsters and wokeism, because they removed everything that was Saints Row.
It actually essentially could have killed the franchise and maybe Volition as a whole, and essentially removed opportunities for Embracer Group to make money off that in the future. That's how badly that game was received and how badly it was executed, to be honest. Well, anyway, sorry, I digress.
No, that's what we can expect from these major video game companies right now.
Indeed.
Like, let's be honest. We're not going to get groundbreaking, awesome gameplay. We're going to get like half-baked, reused ideas with what they think is the popular narrative right now.
Yeah.
And of course, we all just have to recognize the fact that it's just that people think it's popular, and it's because there's engineered social proof to support popularity. Don't fall for it. Just because it's on the internet doesn't mean it's true.
Support current thing.
Indeed. So the next article, ladies and gentlemen, hail Rob Altus. It's good to see you. I like that. I like that monkey mask. It reminds me of the original Planet of the Apes. I love that movie. Boosh McFadden says, do you think he found the dead seagull or he was carrying it around with him?
That's another good question.
That is a good question.
I mean, if he's unpacking a penis, what's to prevent him from unpacking a dead seagull as well?
Right. Maybe he's got it like on a holster or hook sling on his hip, and he's just all like, this was my lunch.
He's got an ammo bolo or bolero or whatever.
Yeah.
He's got all these devices. He's like Batman, only not.
Oh yeah, Batman with a dead seagull and a penis. Warner really took a turn for the worse with that plot line. So the next one, ladies and gentlemen, since you all love entertainment, and I love entertainment and stuff, and we love talking pop culture and all this stuff, I don't usually talk about it. So let's talk about Sylvester Stallone.
Oh, man.
Sylvester Stallone transformed the tattoo of his wife's face into a dog, and then she filed for divorce. So Stallone took the face of his beloved dead dog, Butkus, and replaced his wife's tattoo on his arm with his dead dog's face. Do you think the boss would probably have an issue with that if you did that?
Yeah, except that, I'm not a tattoo guy. I mean, I think they're cool, and I enjoy people who get thrills out of those, and some people wear them well, and they're cool. Just I'm not gonna decorate my body with ink.
Right.
But I look at that and I think, yeah, if I did something that would essentially like create a barrier or a perception of disconnection, I think that I would probably be in big trouble.
Right. A little bit. So Vince Wilmax says, so he was calling her a bitch?
Kind of, sort of, maybe.
Kind of seems that way.
Yeah.
XRL7, Mike says they must have had a rocky relationship. Ha ha ha. That's a good joke.
That was really funny, Mr. Evans. Well done.
Leave it to the British to come up with the best humor.
Indeed. We need more. We need Monty Python to come back.
We do. My favorite skit from Monty Python was the pet store with the dead bird. John Cleese this bird has ceased to exist.
Yeah, it was a seagull a minute ago. So
yeah. Maybe he was just reenacting his favorite Monty Python skit.
Anyway, sorry. Go ahead.
So it says here that they were married for 25 years. Yeah. And then she filed for divorce because he replaced her face with the face of Butkus. Now, dog's name aside, I feel like any woman would probably have an issue with this decision.
First of all, let's not pretend that this was the causation.
Right, it's not. It's not. Yeah. Divorce doesn't just pop up because of a tattoo change.
Yeah.
It's something that happens over time.
You have confusing symptoms with causation, different kind of conversation.
Yes, but it is wonderful timing. I'm sure they were taught, like, because even just filing for divorce takes a couple weeks.
Takes a minute
in most places.
And in California, you know, it's a community property bologna sausage. So this is not going to be cheap.
Right. His body, his choice. And think about all the movies that Stallone has come out with in the last 25 years. She automatically gets half of everything he makes off of those movies under California law.
Unless there was something in structure in place prior to their wedding.
This is true. Now, of course, I won't speculate as to whether or not they had a prenup or any of these things, but 25 years ago, Stallone was at the height of his career.
Indeed.
So you would assume that there's a prenup for something like this. But there's never a guarantee. So, yeah, Katina Martin knows. Damn girl, gonna get paid.
Yeah.
Indeed. Hail Diablo Dame. She has a cosmetic business, so will Sly get half of that? According to California law. Probably.
Yeah. It all comes down to contractual agreements, you know, civil documentation. You essentially, California, I believe the way their law is structured is you walk away with what you brought into it, less the half shared assets that were accumulated afterwards. But I don't, again, if they have a prenup, it supersedes that kind of law. So
it does. And
it speaks to the fact that I think, Corey, marriage is a civil contract.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, in however you enter into it, it's a civil contract. You can negotiate terms going into it, right? Most people, it never would have occurred to do that, right? You know, going in,
right?
But since divorce became so prevalent, you know, it started to become a conversation because primarily the relationships, familial wealth, the accumulation of familial and generational wealth was an imperative, and so divorce wasn't something that was imagined at that period of time. So once they started to get into that circumstance where it became more commonplace, you started to see people who wanted to preserve their familial heritage, wealth, et cetera, you know, produce these civil contracts to association with the marriage contract. So it's what it is. But
well, and
go ahead.
With Hollywood, it's rare to see a marriage that lasts 25 years.
Right.
Like, especially with modern stars. But like looking back at all of these people, like, I don't know if I would hold it against her for divorcing Sylvester Stallone. because I
Right.
don't know him personally, but he doesn't exactly ooze great husband to me. And this is me being judgmental. I'll admit to that. But could you, and this is a weird dark path to walk down, but could you imagine your marriage breaking up after 25 years? I mean,
Yeah.
regardless of what happened in the circumstances, this is going to be hard for both of them.
Right.
Yeah. It's probably going to be a little harder for her, simply because this is Sylvester Stallone. He's going to rebound as soon as the contract's signed and probably put out another Rambo movie or some shit and just make some more money. But I feel like Sylvester Stallone, on top of the fact that he's getting ready to retire, is making some interesting choices lately because he's been looking at properties in Mar-a-Lago. Hopefully he's safe from the FBI. He's signing away production rights, not ownership rights, but production rights of a lot of his primary stuff. Like he's giving up partial control to Rocky. He's giving up partial control of the Rambo series and stuff like that. Do you think he's going ahead with his retirement given the divorce? I know we don't know a lot about him, but I mean, do you think he's going to stick around a while now?
I think that he's trying to reclaim something for his kids and his family and himself. And that's why we were seeing the news around the fight with the producer for Rocky. He's like, look, I created this character, wrote this character, put this together, I directed these films, et cetera, et cetera. I need and should retain my piece of them. So that makes a lot of sense. Saw that coming a mile away, right? At the same time, I think that I think you're right. I think he's looking at a lifestyle change, a step away from the lifestyle of Hollywood to something a little bit more, in line with his probably upbringing and lifestyle. And he's headed for Florida. And all of that makes a lot of sense.
I agree. And, I think that Stallone stepping away from Hollywood would be a good idea because otherwise we just wind up with more people like Harrison Ford who want to do their own stunts, but being 80, their bones are so fragile they can't keep doing that.
Well, I mean, to be fair, his latest injury was caused by actually, just dislocating his shoulder when he was getting on a rail car.
See, and when do you think it's a good idea to hang up the towel? Because we saw like Anthony Hopkins go like his entire life, basically. He never stopped.
And then he went.
Yeah. And then, we have other people that gave up in their 30s.
Yeah, well, look, I mean, in Katina Martin makes a great point. He's plenty of money. So, his motivation is going to be for something broader, and somebody who understands, the nature of fame and fortune being rather fickle. See, that's a lot of F's right there. But it's true. And so I can see him stepping away that way, but I don't know. I think stepping away would be something that you would have to evaluate individually, because I think if you stay in top physical condition, which, I mean, let's argue, whether or not Stallone or Schwarzenegger or any of the action star guys did that without chemical means. Let's pretend for a moment that they remained in tip top shape. If they did that, man, they could do it for a long time. But somebody like Harrison Ford, who is more weed than human at this point in time, and doesn't know how to land a plane, the plane can take off just fine. Landing seems to be his problem.
Yes, indeed.
That's two different scenarios. I mean, arguably, I think Sean Connery probably represents a guy that, really understood his body and his abilities through his entire career, and it was only until the last few years where he didn't do anything.
Right.
So, but I think once you decide to retire, right, I think that then you should stay retired. I think that, barring physical, financial circumstance, something that compels you to return, I don't see a reason to come back. So once you make that decision, when he does, I hope he stays retired. I hope everybody does.
I do too. But a lot of the Hollywood stars that retire often retire into directing, writing, producing, that kind of stuff, so that they can keep some means of income coming in. Not that they need it, as it was pointed out earlier by Heron of Alexandria. Being worth $400 million does do a little bit for Stallone's ability to live.
Well, and to remain living. I mean, that's the other. I mean, that's the other part of the equation, because, I guarantee you, he sees a doctor regularly, more regularly than I do.
Oh yeah.
I'm supposed to be seeing a doctor regularly, and I rarely make those appointments. But did you see the latest film that he released? Right, it was
the Samaritan.
Yeah,
I have not had a chance to watch that yet, but I was planning on it. So
yeah, that property was originally put together by his production company, right, Balboa Productions, along with MGM, prior to Amazon acquiring MGM. Which that deal may get unraveled, by the way. I haven't actually covered that story, but there were some inklings that MGM could have to be spun back out. So that's a weird thing.
Is it like monopoly issue?
It's an antitrust issue. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. In fact, there's some moves Amazon's made that they're subjecting themselves to a lot of different antitrust issues.
I could see that. They have acquired a lot of properties in the last few years.
Yeah. Now, but anyway, setting that aside, of course, that's a completely other thing. And again, I'll cover that in a video at some point in the next couple of weeks, because I'm at this point now where I have so many stories that I'm like weeks down the road. But and the problem is the latest are the ones that get covered. But anyway, we'll set that aside. But back to where we were talking about. So Samaritan, it's not a top end film. It's not the greatest film ever made. It's a passable entertainment enterprise. I am not overly enthusiastic about it or whatever, but it did show me that to a certain extent he's still there as a name, as a star to a certain extent. I think he has to step into more of a supporting role, and I think he's going to have to get a little less physical, because there were definitely some chinks in the armor when it came to the latest film.
That's fair.
Yeah.
And being an actor means being able to adapt to the different changes in your life and still applying the art. For instance, Stallone could do voice acting.
Oh, indeed. Has done.
He's like, he has done, like King Shark, right? He was King Shark.
Yeah.
He could literally take voice acting to the same level that he took his regular acting career.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Well, and he's an incredible writer and a great director. His production instincts are top notch. So it's not like he couldn't just, flesh out those things.
Right. And let's speculate for a second. If Stallone actually leaves the scene, because he's still one of the busiest talents, I should say, in Hollywood right now. He's always doing stuff. What do you think him winding down would actually look like? Because there's no way he's just going to go play golf. He's not just going to go play golf with those racist balls.
He might, though. He actually is a pretty decent golfer from what I've heard. But no, I would actually go. I would go with the idea that he is moving to Florida for purpose. There's a lot of production facilities being constructed in Florida right now. I mean, up and down everywhere. Central Florida specifically. Hopefully one day I'll be one of the people building one of those facilities.
And hopefully I'll be one of those people standing in line for auditions.
Of course. Yeah. But the goal being for him, I think, would be to flesh out his production company. I mean, if he moves everything there, it's a tax-free state, or no state income tax, I should say. It's not tax-free. And he's, I mean, there's a level of freedom in certain states that it unfortunately isn't enjoyed in all states now. Let me tell you right now, there's a state right now in the middle of the country, or actually on the East Coast, not even the middle of the country, that tied themselves to the worst state in the country, which is California, in a way that they're right now desperately trying to untangle because of the damage to the economy that recent moves by California have done. and I won't dive into
Right.
that. We'll probably talk about it tonight, but
Okay.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. Go ahead.
I haven't looked recently because I dropped out of mainstream auditions, but is Georgia's film
Yes,
industry still doing okay?
still
Still
growing.
doing good?
Oh gosh,
Good.
yeah. Yeah, consider this. There when Pinewood Studios went into a joint venture with the Katie family, who own Chick-fil-A.
Okay.
There in Georgia, they built an amazing facility, set of facilities, sound studios, a live, work, play environment, which the Katie family bought Pinewood out of, and
Nice.
now is
Okay.
called that facility and that location is called Trillium, and they are actually working towards the second expansion there. That's how fast the growth is. Tyler Perry's production facilities are growing. Everything around that area is still growing, and there is a lot of work in Georgia. Georgia film is expanding. It's one of the reasons why California is kind of desperate to increase their tax incentives for
Yeah.
instance to remain in Hollywood. Unfortunately, I think they're looking at the writing on the wall and noticed that they were trying to get a 5-year extension there from 2025 to 2030 that would have equated to $913 million in tax incentives for studios.
Wow.
But that actually got put on hold like 3 days after announcing it. Like somebody stepped on Gavin's throat and said, "We can't afford this." We'll have
Good.
to see what happens there. Yeah.
Well, because as an actor, my eyes are no longer on the West Coast. It's just not happening anymore. The West Coast, as far as I'm concerned, is dead. The Southwest,
Sorry. Yeah.
yeah, the Southwest, Arizona, New Mexico. If you ever want to film
Oh yeah.
a cowboy movie or any type of like,
You save a lot of money. It's really easy to do. There are facilities in place, multiple.
Yep.
And then by the time you get over to Texas, that place is about ready to explode production
Sweet.
wise. So,
Good.
yeah.
Lots of places
Right.
to travel.
Well, there are 4 facilities being built in Texas right now that have been underreported. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah.
And pretty much everything in the South. The South is going to become the hotbed, literally, for productions. Anything stretching. And Mexico is actually booming right now. It's insane. So really, it's from Arizona east. That's just, if you just drew a line across the bottom of the United States, that's, or a bar graph. Leave California over here and just draw a graph on the rest of the bottom states and Mexico. It's growing.
See, so do you think that the entertainment industry actually needs Hollywood?
No, they haven't for a while, and it's been pretty obvious. I mean,
Yeah.
To be honest with you, we can go back 12 to 15 years and look at the expansion of Netflix into original programming, and they already pointed out the flaws in operating in Hollywood. And Hollywood hasn't really operated in Hollywood strictly for a long time. They'd already been moving productions to Canada because it's cheaper. And
Australia, New Zealand. Yep.
Yeah. So you can avoid a lot of stuff. And Southern Belle points out the most important thing: there's a lower cost of living in the South.
Yep. That's why we're looking to move there.
And okay, so here's the other thing: it's no flaw, and it's no surprise that when sports personalities retire, they go to southern states. And that's where they move. They don't go to California and retire there. Retiring to California is too expensive unless you're a multi-billionaire kind of human.
Right.
So they head for the southern states. Most people, when they retire from New York, where do they go? They go to Florida. It's cheaper, cost of living, no state income tax. I mean, you could honestly say that wealth has been draining out of New York for multiple decades, probably 5 decades in total, last 50 years. That's not slowing down.
They used to film a lot of the soap operas in New York, didn't they?
You had 2. I think one of them was at Silver Cup, and I don't know where the other one was, but I think even one of those relocated to California. And then a lot of daytime television has moved down towards Georgia. I mean, you're starting to see trends. Let's just put it that way. And it's not that expensive. In fact, there are some financial advantages to doing productions in Texas. That's again why it's growing. And again, those are incredibly underreported things that are being talked about right now. I think.
Right.
I think California is going to have to come to grips with the fact that their cultural domination is slipped away because of their policies, not just their social policies, but specifically their fiscal policies.
Right.
And
Hail Po baby. Hope you like the heat if you move to the south. Hi everyone.
Yeah.
I can live with the heat.
Yeah.
Since I live in a desert, I'm actually looking forward to the uncomfortable nature of a humid heat.
Yeah.
Because
The uncomfortable nature of a dry heat's better than the humid heat, but I will take the heat over the freaking snow every once in a while. Garbage.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. That is my one complaint about Colorado is the fact that it has snow. Everybody's all like, Colorado's so beautiful. I'm like, it is. But I've lived here for 30 years and I'm sick of it.
Yeah. And again, I mean, I think city centers, this is going to not shock anybody, but I think city centers and stuff like that, they are cyclical as far as their growth and retraction, unless you have a complete industry collapse, which is what happened in Detroit, right?
Right.
But in the areas around there's an affluent area in the Detroit area that a lot of people are familiar with because of a film. It's called Grosse Pointe Blank. Those were a lot of executives, mid-level folks, and stuff that worked in Detroit. That's where they lived, and it was very, very affluent. But it you still have some affluence there, but it suffered the same as the city. It just wasn't as evident because the city. I mean, when you strip away the blue collar work, your city crumbles. The support structures that are put in place, are usually weighed down by excessive social programs that essentially strip away the value of the community. Wow, I didn't mean to go off into this. But
no, you're good.
Yeah,
you're good.
it's. I mean that I think is what's happening right now in New York and in most of California. Especially Northern California. California should be divided into 3 states because it really is culturally, politically, it's 3 different states. The problem is with population density, one part of the state or a couple parts of the state control the rest of the state.
Right.
And that was something that they tried to prevent. And unfortunately, some idiotic judge decided that it was okay to remove the electoral system that was in place in the state, which changed its how they were represented in that state. So, and I don't want to get into that here, but it's easy to research.
Yeah.
And there's another reason why the United States as a representative republic maintains a electoral college, and it's because you can't allow 7 states to rule the other states.
For real. Yeah.
43 states should not be ruled by the other 7. And
I agree.
That's the biggest problem is the states allowing the federal government to attain so much power. States were supposed to be actually the most powerful entity in the representative republic, and somehow that got flipped on its ear, usually because of wars. But,
yeah.
Anyway.
Well, and the problem that I have with today's political climate, especially with this federal government having so much power all of a sudden, and I know it's not sudden, but grand scheme of things, people still have that power,
right,
but they're willingly sacrificing it for convenience.
Yeah.
And as anyone watching this show should know, we're not cool with that. Shouldn't sacrifice freedom for convenience.
No.
Well,
I mean,
dumb.
There's a famous quote from Franklin, right? Those that would sacrifice freedom for security deserves neither freedom nor security,
and they will have neither either.
Yeah,
because as we know, the totalitarian boot comes down heavy. This has been a good time.
I apologize I didn't mean. I was trying not to navigate us, and eventually, unfortunately, navigated us into politics. So bad me.
I am perfectly fine with that. I'm actually, as I said, we're taking a new direction, and I'm opening up the floor to a little bit more bigger topics, more important topics, if you will, like beating people with dead seagulls. And
I look, unpacking a penis is. I'm sorry. That's serious. That's serious statements. There are so many questions. I think the chat brought that up. I mean, I still can't. So, how big was it? If you're unpacking it, and was it actually a separate appendage? And if so, was it in a guitar case, or or a rifle case, or from where did you unpack said appendage? There's a lot of questions there.
Yeah.
And another question: was the seagull dead before the beating, or was the seagull dead after the beating?
That is a good question. I mean, did he kill it?
Yeah, did he kill it and then beat the lady with it? There's so many questions.
So many questions. It would have made it more. It probably would have made the headline if he'd have beat her with the live seagull till the seagull died.
I think one whack. Their necks are.
This is true. This is true.
Well,
doesn't stop those bastards from stealing French fries. Just saying.
I don't know. I need more information. I feel like I'm missing something.
So, ladies and gentlemen, this has been a fun time. We discovered that Sylvester Stallone's getting a divorce because apparently because of a dog tattoo. Doubt it's the actual root cause.
No.
Golf balls are apparently racist, or at least that's what the headline implies. And yeah, we had a good time. So, Culture, what do you have going on here in the near future? I'll give you a little bit of solo time.
I'm gonna be recording some videos. I mean, that's not a surprise to anybody. I'm on an incredible show this evening. Maybe you've heard of it. It's called Yelling at Parked Cars. Right? It's on a little known channel called Comics Division, but we've actually moved it this evening out of necessity over to Odyssey, where it's also on Comics Division's channel on Odyssey. So that'll be a good time.
And the beauty of that is that Odyssey, as a supporter, actually recognizes when you're doing well. Like last week, Odyssey was tipping comics. I mean,
yeah, we had a great turnout. We want bigger numbers tonight, so please be there on Odyssey. It is worth creating an account. Odyssey is the alt tech we need to support,
and we're there too.
We are. I'm on Odyssey. Everything I make, everything I do, every live stream, everything is on Odyssey. Katina, you were fighting something that is a known issue, right? Is the tablet stuff, right? And they have a hard time with tablets and phones. That is fair. That's fair.
That is fair indeed.
But there is some future at Odyssey for Comics Division as well, and we'll be talking about that in the future, I would imagine too.
Yes, indeed. And I will be getting my Odyssey up to date probably today before I go get my son from school. So that'll be fun. But anything else going on your channel?
See, tomorrow we got a Tech Tuesday video coming out. We have the probably the She-Hulk review between me and the boss, just like we did last week, the day before something releases. I don't know, man. I do like 9 live streams on my channel a week, so just subscribe to my channel, turn notifications on. You won't miss anything. There's a lot.
Hell yeah.
I don't sleep much. Really.
Well, maybe someday you can catch up on some sleep.
It wasn't last night. We went for 3 hours on my late night culture stream.
Wow.
Brahma was there. It's nice to see Brahma for a minute.
Hell yeah. And hail Brahma Bull. XRL7 Mike says, "You guys rock. Great stream." Thank you, sir. Yes, I will be on Yelling at Park Cars tonight and Thursday Night Throwdown on Thursday. And then I'll see you guys next week with another guest, more news articles, and another fun discussion. I haven't actually got a guest. I was going to schedule Mike, but he's busy. So I'm going to see if I can't reach out to some of our community members.
Our friendly neighborhood community members.
Yes, indeed. And anyone is welcome on the Talking with TalksALot program. If I don't ask you directly, that's because I'm really bad at doing that. So if you'd like to be on, just shoot me a message on Twitter, The Good Voice Guy. Find me on Gilded, TalksALot Town Square. I should just go ahead and get an invite link for that real quick. And of course, I am on Odyssey. It is the Sir TalksALot channel. I have not updated that in a long time, so you'll go there and be like, wow, he really cares about this channel. And I do. It's just for a while I didn't have the subs to auto sync it. So now that I can sync up the YouTube channel to it, I'll get everything backed up, and I will start doing some exclusive Odyssey content.
That sounds good.
So yeah, we're just trying to grow. Make sure you have a backup for YouTube if you're a creator. It's just kind of how it is. But until then, and as always, stay sexy, don't get murdered, and have a wonderful time. Here comes the new outro.
He's my brother, he's my pal, we all live in Arkandale.
You're supposed to be telling people to push the like and subscribe buttons.
Man, shut up. Ain't nobody want to hear that shit. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm practicing for my family reunion.